Of course. Grab your coffee. This is a long one. It all started on what was supposed to be a completely normal, boring Saturday. You know the kind I mean. The sun's out, the sky is that perfect blue, and the biggest thing on your mind is what to order for dinner. My brother Grant was working, so his son Leo, my nephew, was over at their place knocking out his weekend chores. Leo's 16, all elbows and knees, and that lopsided smile he tries to hide now that he's got braces. He's got these wild, cool dreads his mom Maya helps him with, and the kid's a bona fide computer genius. If you ever need a robot built out of spare parts and duct tape, he's your guy. Anyway, there he was, headphones on, mowing the front yard, probably blasting music I'm too old to recognize, totally lost in his own world. That's the picture. Perfectly peaceful, perfectly ordinary. Right until it wasn't. I was just pulling up to drop off a book Maya wanted when I saw it. Their driveway looked like the stage for some twisted little suburban drama. Leo was standing by the mower, looking so much smaller than usual, his face scrunched up in confusion. And right there, front and center, was this woman, blonde hair scraped into a bun that had seen better days, matching gray tracksuit, and an arm straight out like she was trying to poke a hole in Leo's chest with her finger. She was screaming. I couldn't hear her from the car, but you don't really need the audio to know rage when you see it. And then my stomach dropped, because parked out front was a police car, and standing next to it, arms crossed, face carved in stone, was my brother Grant. He was still in his uniform, that beard making him look 10 years older, and he wasn't looking at Leo. He was locked in on her, this woman, with a stare that just said, "You have no idea the line you just crossed." I killed the engine, hands kind of shaking, and for a second I just sat there. You ever have one of those moments where it feels like the world goes slow? That was it. Finally, I got out and the sound hit me. Her voice, shrill and sharp, slicing through the Saturday air. He was sneaking around the side of my house, looking in the windows. What else would he be doing in this neighborhood? You know that last bit hung in the air like a bad smell. See, Grant and Maya have lived there for years. They're the folks who shovel walks for the old neighbors, the house with the best Halloween candy, the ones who know everyone's dog's name. Leo grew up on that block. Now here he was, being treated like he didn't belong. He tried to speak up, quiet but steady. "Ma'am, I was just turning the mower around. That's all." He pointed to that strip of grass by the property line, the one he's mowed 100 times. That's when Grant spoke. His voice was calm. Too calm. Really, the kind that's more dangerous than shouting. "Ma'am, I need you to lower your voice." She snapped back, voice dripping with accusation. "Don't you tell me what to do. He's a threat. Are you going to do your job, or just protect him?" She jabbed her finger from Grant's badge to Leo's face, silent accusation crackling in the air. The muscle in Grant's jaw twitched. Yeah, I saw it even from the curb. He took a step between her and Leo, just a little, but the message was clear. I am doing my job. My son was mowing his own lawn. The woman, let's just call her Claire, let out this nasty laugh. "Of course. Your son. All going to stick together, huh?" Out came her phone, and she started filming, demanding badge numbers, throwing out the word harassment. You could see Grant's cop side wrestling with his dad's side. He had to be professional, had to follow the book, but every parent in the world would know what was simmering under the surface. He took a breath. "My name is Officer Grant. My badge number is on my uniform. File your complaint if you wish. Right now, I'm investigating your call. Did you see my son commit a crime?" Her face flickered, just for a second. "Well, no, but he looked like he might." That right there was the poison. A second patrol car rolled up, standard when an officer's involved in a call at his own house. The new guy was young, looked barely out of the academy, and you could see the wind come out of his sails when he saw the scene. A woman in athleisure, a kid with a mower, and a cop who happened to be the dad. Grant explained the situation, stone-faced and precise. Meanwhile, Claire just kept ranting. He was lurking. He doesn't belong here. A new character entered the scene, Claire's husband Paul. Clean cut, polo shirt, looked like he'd just come off the golf course. He didn't yell. That almost made it worse. He put a hand on Claire's shoulder, all faux calming. "Now, honey, let's take a breath. Officer, I'm sure this is all just a misunderstanding. We just want to keep the neighborhood safe." His smile was all surface, no warmth, and the way he smoothed over his wife's outburst made my skin crawl. Grant wasn't having it. "There's no misunderstanding, sir. Your wife accused my son of being a criminal for mowing his own lawn. Are you making that accusation too? Paul just offered that same empty smile. Of course not. We just want everyone to feel safe. At this point, the rookie officer, completely out of his depth, mumbled something about no crime being committed and everyone should just head home. Claire was furious. That's it? He just gets away with it. Gets away with what? Mowing? Breathing? Leo's shoulders slumped, eyes gone dark. Go on inside, Grant told him quietly. I'll finish up here. Leo nodded and disappeared into the garage. The sound of the door closing felt like the period at the end of a bad sentence. But you know that wasn't the end. Monday, Grant got called in to meet his captain. Claire had filed a complaint, painting herself as the victim, Grant as the aggressive, unprofessional cop. She twisted every word, turning his calm into intimidation, his firmness into threats. Department procedure kicked in, a formal investigation, internal affairs, body cam footage collected. Grant was officially under the microscope. Maya was beside herself, angry and scared in equal measure. Leo barely left his room. Grant just looked tired, sitting at the kitchen table staring at cold coffee, trying to figure out how one woman in a gray tracksuit could tear their whole life apart. But Claire wasn't done. She took her crusade online, firing up a Facebook group, keeping our streets safe, with a picket fence for a profile pic. She never named Leo, but she didn't have to. She spun her story of a menacing teenager and a hostile cop. Neighbors chimed in, some sympathetic, some silent. Only a few spoke up for Grant and Maya, and Claire shut them down hard. That silence, that was the worst part. The neighborhood turned cold, cars slowing as they passed, eyes lingering too long. The poison was in the soil now. But then, an unexpected twist, a real Mr. Gable moment. Mr. Gable, 2 doors down, retired teacher, mostly kept to himself, showed up with a plate of cookies and a nervous apology. I saw everything, he said. From my porch. Leo was mowing. She came out yelling before he even took his headphones off. He never did a thing wrong. Then he handed over a USB stick. His security cam had caught it all. The angle wasn't perfect, the audio was messy, but you could see it. Claire was the aggressor. Leo just stood there, bewildered. With that footage, everything changed. Grant's union rep was thrilled. This was the silver bullet. Suddenly, it wasn't just their word against hers. The evidence matched up: body cam, security video, statements. Claire's complaint was dead in the water. But instead of apologizing, Claire and Paul doubled down. Legal threats arrived, intimidating letters from some downtown firm, threatening lawsuits against Grant, the department, the city, even Leo, for trespassing. Absurd? Absolutely. But that's what money and arrogance can do. The stress nearly broke them. Grant picked up extra shifts, Maya barely slept, and Leo withdrew from the world, quitting the robotics club, skipping out on friends. The guilt chewed at him, thinking he was to blame. 16, and already carrying the weight of other people's hatred. I couldn't just sit and watch. So, fueled by righteous anger and way too much coffee, I started digging into Claire and Paul's past. Social media, property records, old newspaper clippings. Turns out Claire had a habit, a string of complaints, lawsuits, always playing the victim, always trying to use the system to get her way. She'd even run a boutique that mysteriously went out of business after accusations of insurance fraud from some old business partners. Nothing ever charged, but the pattern was clear. And then, twist number 2. Mr. Gable called, said he found something new on his security footage. Right before Claire stormed out, she was on the phone, red-faced, gesturing wildly, long before she saw Leo. When she spotted him, it was like she found a convenient target for her bad mood. It wasn't about safety, it was about her anger. We brought all of this, videos, research, the whole timeline, to Grant's captain. For once, the city took us seriously. The captain agreed. Not only should the complaint against Grant be closed, but Claire should be investigated for filing a false report. But of course, that's where the system gets practical. The city didn't want the mess, a high-profile trial, bad headlines. So they offered a deal. Grant's name cleared, lawsuits dropped, but no charges against Claire. Basically, let it go, keep the peace, move on. What a choice, right? Accept a private victory, or fight for public justice and risk another round of hell. They took the deal, reluctantly, because sometimes survival trumps revenge. The lawsuits evaporated. The cloud over Grant's job lifted. But the real healing took time. You know what surprised me? Leo. One day, he just came out of his shell and said he was going to hang out with friends again. Later, he wrote an essay about the weaponization of discomfort, how false accusations are used to police who belongs where. The teacher was floored. He took the ugliest thing that ever happened to him and built something strong out of it. Mr. Gable became like family, Sunday dinners, history lessons, quiet wisdom. The neighborhood began to thaw. Some folks made a point to reach out, to bridge the cracks Claire left behind. Claire and Paul. They moved away, no goodbyes, no fuss, just a for sale sign and a vanishing act. The air got lighter. But we never really forgot. You don't. Sometimes I'll see Leo out front, tinkering with a robot, and I'll get this flashback of that day, the driveway, the rage, the sense that the world had shifted. But it isn't anger anymore. It's pride. Pride in Grant for walking that razor's edge between cop and dad, in Maya for holding her family together, and in Leo for refusing to shrink. But you want to know the real kicker? Just when we thought we were in the clear, it started up again. Different neighborhood Facebook post, different faces, but the same story. This time, it was about some Latino kids at the park, accused of loitering, menacing behavior. The buzzwords were all too familiar. We recognized the pattern. Maya reached out to the other family before things got ugly. We shared our story, helped them organize, and encouraged them to document everything, get neighbors on their side. At the next town council meeting, the so-called concerned citizens demanded stricter rules. But the parents of those kids stood up, spoke about who their kids really were. Athletes, honor roll students, volunteers. Leo got up and shared his story, what it's like to be seen as a threat just for existing. You could hear a pin drop. The vote for stricter rules? Unanimously shot down. That was the real ending, I think. Not the paperwork or the letters, but seeing Leo and his friends, kids who'd been treated like suspects, finally take up space, take ownership of their own story, and win. Now Leo's off to college, engineering and social justice, of course. Grant's a sergeant. Maya's pushing for better civics education. Mr. Gable is still our rock. This isn't the naive peace we had before. It's a stronger kind, forged in fire. Injustice isn't a single event. It's a weed that keeps popping up. But we learned you fight it with evidence, community, and courage. You tell your story. You help the next family do the same. Anyway, your coffee's probably cold by now. Let me grab you a fresh one. And before you go, tell me, what would you have done? Where's the line between justice and peace, between fighting and letting go? Drop your thoughts below. This story isn't over. Not for us. Not for anybody who's ever had to stand their ground in the face of a lie.